Okay, the Plymouth Charter Township of Plymouth Board of Trustees regular meeting for Tuesday, June 25th, 2024 will come to order. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Stewart.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Trustee Monahan.
Here.
Trustee Kermy.
Here.
Trustee Buckley.
Here.
Clerk Borman. Here. Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Here.
Supervisor Heisen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, tonight's Pledge of Allegiance, we have Sam Caramango from Priority Waste. Why don't you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir? You can stay right where you are.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sam.
Front.
Okay, need a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr.
I
Clerk.
move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, June 25th, 2024.
Motion's made by Clerk Vorga. Is there a
Second.
second by Trustee Monahan? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approval of the consent agenda. Comments, questions?
Yes, I have a question on D2ABC.
D, 2, A, B, C.
All three of them.
All three?
Yeah, all three. Ready?
Sure.
Are any of the reappointment people here? If so, would they stand so we know who they are?
Don't
They are not.
think so.
They are not, okay. Next is the treasurer with the sidewalks. Better put this on. A little background for me is, what did we do in the past? And is there, the township engineer isn't here, but is this being caused by too much reliance? What is the root cause to fix for next time? Lesson learned? Is it too much reliance on GPS versus field? So those are a couple of questions. And when do you intend to invoice for 2023? So those three.
So I just collected, I don't run the program, so I'll answer the best that I can. So what happens is that they use the GIS system, which is imperfect in terms of where the property lines are. Because to go out and do a survey on every piece of parcel would be, cost prohibitive. So they send a letter out, and sometimes the homeowners, miss it. So in these two examples or three examples that I had from this year, the people came in and they had pictures, and I went over and looked at their property, and the slab was clearly on their neighbor's property, but because the neighbor hadn't been notified, they didn't have due process, so they didn't have an opportunity to object. So you're kind of stuck in the middle. And so the homeowner A, was billed for that, objected, and they were told by the engineer that they'd have to produce a survey, a property survey, in order to prove that that it's not theirs. Which, so in order to short circuit that, it's not particularly extensive. I think there were three examples this year, but it's a lot cheaper to do that than it would be to go out and do a survey on every one of the properties that we're replacing sidewalks on.
So a mortgage survey is not adequate. They would actually have to do a field survey.
I can't answer that. I don't know.
I guess from a lessons learned, we need to engineers need to tune up the system.
Yeah.
That's not to dump it on the homeowner and say, you prove it that it's not yours, is not a good idea.
Well, that's part of the process in the spring, but when they send them out, but again, it's in the long run, it's much cheaper just to absorb a few mistakes than it is to go out and survey every parcel. It's not a super high amount of money. It's just I don't have a mechanism to be able to relieve that homeowner of the expense.
So how much do you think you'll have to give relief in dollars this year? Is it 10,000 or is it 5,000?
Maybe 1,500, if that. And then the second example is, some homeowners, especially given the contractor that we used last year, some homeowners got frustrated over the fact that their repairs weren't done. in a timely manner, so they went and repaired them, and there's one guy in particular, and it was like $82 worth of materials, but he had a point to make, and it was a good point. Eventually, the contractor wrote him a check, but it would have been more efficient for us to just write him a check and then go back to the contractor when we settle up and take the money back as part of the retainage.
All right, so you are going to make some adjustments with the contractor for these small.
Yeah, it's not a lot, there's a few, but, those that, particularly with the slabs, and there were a couple things, but I don't anticipate it. I put a cap of $10,000 just to be able to put a cap on the program, but it's not gonna be anything near that. And I'll have the backup documentation, and I'll keep a list, of those properties that, had some relief, granted to them.
So the invoicing date, you will not make it before tax bills go out, it sounds like.
I just got word today that he's ready to go over the spreadsheet with me. So as far as timing, I'm not sure. It'll be sometime probably in July when the bills get sent out. I mean, it is what it is. I've been equally frustrated by it.
Well, the document you sent out that we have about $1 million in SADs, there's a carrying cost, and this is 0 interest. So trying to get as much of that income paid, and people tend to think about it when they get a tax bill, they're thinking about coming into the township hall and paying bills.
Right. Well, they had, the repair was done, a year ago. But, the contractor was bad. Not much more you can say.
Okay, item 2C.
People want the low bidder, and that's what happens sometimes when you get the low bidder.
Yeah, I'm just looking for ways to improve so you don't have to have work to do, and we don't have frustrated residents that have to prove that they are not responsible.
Yeah, I don't mind doing the work. I just don't think it's fair to the residents.
Okay,
So Jerry, can you help me out with this? Is the overtime, we're doing this to make a budget amendment, or why can't we just carry on paying overtime? Why do we have to do that? What's triggering this?
Because.
Business as usual is
No,
what I was.
no, it's not business as usual. The deputy clerk is set aside from every other employee that's here. It's an appointment that I have, the treasurer has an appointment, and any money that the deputy clerk or deputy treasurer gets has to be approved by the board. As people are probably aware, we've had some very fundamental changes in the election laws over the past few years. And this is the first year that we've had 9 days of early voting. So you have 9 days starting the weekend before the election where people have to be able to come and work. This requires more training. So not only do I have all of my hourly employees working more overtime, the management has to then be there to supervise. And so you have the 9 days of early voting, you have an extra Saturday that you have to be open according to state law to allow people to come in. You have 75 days prior to an election where the ballot boxes have to be inspected, and you have to assure that they are secure and that they're being monitored by video. So you have a cycle that has expanded from just a month, about a month worth of overtime work to 75 days. As a matter of fact, the last election, I worked 2.5 months straight without a day off. That was Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve. It's just part of the new law that when people voted for this, they didn't realize the expense that was going to be borne by the public and by the state in general. So when you have this, an extreme amount of overtime, an extreme amount of time that you're supervising people, it would be unfair to the deputy clerk who works more than a month straight in overtime to not be compensated in some fashion.
So
fashion.
no budget amendment is required as a
No,
result of
because
this?
remember last year when we put a lot of money into the elections hourly wages?
Yes.
This will be covered by that.
Why don't you cover some of this with comp time when it's slow? Does she take comp time too?
As you know, they don't get scheduled vacation time or anything like that. And so when the person works those many hours, and when is she gonna take the comp time? You know, next year, you know, so you have probably 350 hours of potential overtime that the deputy clerk is gonna be working this year. And they say, well, maybe next year you can take some time off. And this is all condensed. Remember, 75 days from this election was before Memorial Day. So Memorial Day, someone had to go check the ballot boxes every day, empty them if there's anything then in them, assure that the video is running. And then when this election is over, it's almost 75 days to the next election. So you have 150 days of solid work going on, of supervising people and making sure everything is running right. And it would be improper to say you're gonna work 350 hours overtime, then maybe next year you can have some time off. So this is, I'm asking that she be compensated at straight time, not time and a half. And so I think it's an appropriate way to deal with an employee who is skilled in the job classification, well-educated, and is doing a great job for the public. I just think that it'd be unfair not to give some compensation for that person.
Okay. Assuming there's no other questions or comments on the consent agenda, I'll entertain a motion, and we will require a roll call on this as well.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, June 25th, 2024.
Okay, motion's made by Clerk Forva. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Monahan. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Supervisor Heisler.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchetta.
Yes.
Clerk Forva, yes. Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Kramer.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next is public comment, limited to 3 minutes. Bob will turn on the shot clock there.
I'm Dale Bernhardt. Since Mr. Heisey was always known to trash those against his personal desires, our grassroots Stop the Racetrack team was fully aware of the risks, but our cause was worthy because we had to bring the facts out. He wouldn't. So his appointed trustee accused me on social media of creating smear speeches. If stating facts about Heisey is the equivalent of smear speeches, then I'm guilty. But what we have done is exposed the truth about Heisey. We have revealed a book full of shady dealings and unscrupulous tactics. So in the revealing process, we knew Heisey would make it personal and nasty, but that was all he had. He couldn't refute our facts. We uncovered numerous lies, backroom deals, all the while keeping citizens in the dark, especially on Northville Downs. Northville City engaged with 200 residents over 2 years to achieve their acceptable downtown project. Never did Heisey engage with our citizens on Northville Downs of Plymouth. Now we are sued by Northville Downs for $10 million. We exposed lies about contamination on MITC parcels. We revealed 82% of his campaign funds come from out-of-towners looking to secure their piece of the Plymouth Township pie, regardless what the residents want or what the master plan stated. Just slap PUD or special land use on it, and it's a done deal. Heisey's lack of negotiating skills got us where we are today with Salem Springs. Hopefully, Eagle will not approve the sewage treatment plant and make Heisey negotiate to use an existing sewer line. But residents on the west side, your property values have already decreased with the threat of the plant. The Meyer Store project on 5 Mile, where Heisey encouraged Meyer to sue his own township, certainly appeased Meyer and Redico. Heisey campaign fund grew from Redico contributions. Mr. Heisey wants to remove Huron Valley ambulance from residents' needs. Elks property, Heisey orchestrated a deal that will now place a road down the center of the neighborhood. that will bring traffic through from Ann Arbor Road to Ann Arbor Trail against resident wishes. We have exposed Heisey for not filing MITC disclosure documents as required by state law. I could go on, but it is obvious Heisey does not have the pulse of the residents, only the pulse of rich developers. So I'm not here to smear you, I'm here to expose you and your dealings that will forever destroy our quality of life. Mr. Heisey, you are just wrong for Plymouth Township.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Dwayne Zantop, a 40-year resident of Plymouth Township.
Get the shot glass.
Kurt Heisey is harassing and intimidating Kermie supporters. He posted the following, which is far from the truth. I quote, "Kurt Heisey, it's all the desperate campaign has left. Voter intimidation, intimidation of First Amendment free speech rights. Let us know when they come to you. Get and retain their phone numbers. Get their name and phone numbers and pass it along to me. We will alert the Attorney General." On the same day, Heisey harassed and intimidated a Kermie supporter. Here is his account of what happened. His unsolicited text message the other day, after he did his stalker drive-by and questioned my Kermie sign in my yard, turned into a volley of messages back and forth I found rather unbecoming of a leader of Plymouth Township. It's obvious he's been infected with dirty money and realizes his job is on the line, so he's grasping for straws with intimidation and bullying tactics. He unfriended me on Facebook and blocked me after I hurt his feelings. He's rude to residents, tells people to shut up during public meetings, has opened up to litigation with the residents on the hook for his bad decisions. I can't believe I stood on the rain with an A-frame begging residents to vote for him by making him write a write-in candidate because he couldn't even fill out a form properly. Heisey intimidated one of my neighbors when he saw a Kermie sign in his yard. Another neighbor with a Kermie sign in her yard saw Heisey lurking on her Ring doorbell, but she was not home. No one in the Kermie campaign is intimidating anyone. Heisey should be reported. Sorry about that, I had a phone ringing in my ear.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Diane Belwis, and I just want to say, Kurt, that your manipulation of voters with disinformation is truly shocking. You've managed to turn the whole Northfield Downs fiasco into what you call a frivolous lawsuit that the township attorneys are working on to dismiss. You even went so far as to state on your Kurt Heisey for Supervisor Facebook page that it was unanimously supported by the Board of Trustees, including your opponent. Well, let's see. You started this whole fiasco at least 3 or more years ago with only your personal interests in mind. Chuck Kermie was the sole no vote until a couple of other board members changed their thinking. Now you're trying to make yourself the savior of a $10 million lawsuit that you yourself caused. I spoke with Mr. Ed Alverson. He's the Handy Township Supervisor yesterday. He told me he has not been approached by anyone from Northfield Downs regarding building a new track. He did know that they were going to do some racing during the Fowlerville Fair this summer. He also stated that they want to build in the Plymouth area because of a larger population and interest in gambling and simulcast betting. As much as you keep trying to make this problem go away, it isn't. Citizens must maintain vigilance because this could end up like the Meyer. You, Kurt, agreeing to a consent agreement to make this $1 million lawsuit go away. We have had far too much horse manure during your tenure as supervisor. Please stop posting on Facebook and mailing campaign flyers with a lot of disinformation in a campaign that is almost solely funded by outside interests. Are you afraid truthful information won't garner votes? Township voters need elected officials with integrity representing them. We don't need or want a good old boys club dictating their personal agenda instead of looking out for the constituents that put them in office. I'd also like to take a minute to thank everyone who has done so much hard work in exposing what appears to be a pay-to-play scheme by you, Kurt, and several other board members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All righty, we're going to move on then. Oh, okay.
I don't want to get gaveled before I get to the podium. Thank you very much.
Done anything yet? So.
Howard Hamrick, 10306 Normandy Drive, Plymouth Township. Good evening, board members and my fellow residents. I'm speaking here not as a spokesperson to the board, but to my fellow citizens. I've been at planning commission meetings since the start of this situation of frantic, misguided land development, which has been deviating constantly from the master plan that was approved with these PUD agreements, project unit developments. I'm directing the comments not to the board. The die is cast. We know where the board will be, but to fellow Plymouth Township resident taxpayers to answer a couple questions. Are you in favor of sewage treatment plant from Salem? We got issues with that. Super Center on 5 Mile Road. On a congested 2-laner, we're going to put a left turn lane on. We're going to have tons of traffic bogging down and clogging, as it already is, Beck Road, North Territorial, Ridge Road, and Godfredson and other areas. Salem Township posted no truck traffic on Napier Road, so they're not going that way, that's for sure. But I see them on Godfredson Road right now. Through roads through some of the local communities that will cause safety issues. High-density housing in already congested areas. Loss of green space. Natural vegetation. Unwanted developments. What kind of ecological theory is this? Where's the green space? Where's the quality of life? If you're into ecology, you think you want to preserve some of that quality of life for township residents. Developments that provide absolutely no tax revenue for 10 years and probably never, because we got to repay the money the state and Wayne County put into supposedly cleaning up the brownfield on 5 Mile Road, home of the old DeHoco and Scott Regional Correction Facility. Not to know that DEQ has given it okay. Gary Heitman, the Planning Commission, and all but 2 of the trustees are responsible. They will not be held responsible for the above unless you vote wisely. You must not vote for anyone on the Heisey slate this August. Kurt Heisey, Jerry Vorva, Bob Dershevitz, Jen Buckley, Audrey Monahan, Greg Bill, who moved here from Northville to be part of this, I don't know why, and Mark Clinton, past trustee. I ask you and plead you, do not vote for this slate. Choose wisely, as they were said in the Indiana Jones movie. If you do not want your Plymouth and mine to be a lost memory, I'm looking forward to viewing the entire meeting on the website. Hope many residents do also. Much of the social media is nothing but pure gossip and sometimes insulting at times. Please go to stop-the-racetrack.com for accurate information and the history of this event. Thank you for your time and attention.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
All right, we're going to move on then, I think. All righty, good. We're going to move on to item F1. This is approval of the assignment from GFL Environmental USA to Priority Waste. This has been handled by Attorney Kevin Bennett. We do have Sam Caramongo here from formerly with GFL, now with Priority Waste. We also have Sarah Wiesel here, who is our Environmental Services Coordinator, and she is the lady who has got the patience of unlimited patience, because she takes all those phone calls about trash collection and pickup and all that stuff. So it's been a very difficult summer for Sarah, frankly, as GFL and Priority attempt to merge their operations. So we are, we're all being patient with this. We know that there's going to be continued hiccups along the way. But we just ask that folks be patient. So as part of our agreement with GFL, we still have 3 years left on that contract, and there is a provision in there what's called an assignment clause, which means that GFL does have the right to assign this contract, our contract, to another provider, in this case, Priority Waste. Priority Waste is going to be taking over approximately 73 separate residential waste hauling contracts throughout Southeast Michigan, and so we are certainly not alone in this regard. What is a little different here in Plymouth Township is that I've asked Kevin Bennett to draft a resolution to memorialize our understandings and some of the requests that we have of Priority going forward. Most notably is the fact that we don't want any changes over the next 3 years. We are used to having the recycling bin on wheels. We don't want trash bins on wheels. We want to be able to continue to put out our trash in our normal manner as we've been doing. And so we expect that Priority will adhere to that. I also think that Kevin had some changes to make regarding the performance bond, and that is also referenced in the resolution as well. So Kevin, did I miss anything? What do you think?
I think you got everything. I'd just like to point out that the contract will remain the same in all aspects. The collection procedures, containers, and scheduling will remain exactly the same. Also, this assignment from GFL to Priority is for residential services only. GFL will continue to provide refuse and recycling services to township facilities. And lastly, the resolution requires a new performance bond from the assignee of the contract as a condition of the transfer.
Okay, we do have Sam here. Now, the other thing too, I just want to mention before Sam gets up. So Sam and Sarah and myself and Sue Brams from my office, we've already had, I think, at least 2 meetings in person and others by phone. So we are right now coordinating our efforts on the transition, and because Sarah's going to be dealing with new people at Priority, field representatives and others who are going to be, that she will be interfacing with. And so those discussions are already underway to try to have a smooth a transition as possible. I also know that GFL has rented trash trucks. If you've seen them around, they're unmarked white trash trucks, and so that has been helping to pick up some of the load that we've seen over the summer months. I think yard waste is a challenge. We're getting a storm here almost every day, so we know that yard waste is a continuing challenge, and there's some regional factors involved there that are beyond our control. But we just ask for patience as this transition continues. Sam, if you'd like to just come up, and if you want to, if board members have any questions, either for Sam or Kevin or Sarah or me, this is the time to do it.
Good evening, Sam Caramagno, Priority Waste.
So, is there going to be any change to what you will pick up in terms of trash? Because GFL currently will take pretty much anything that you put out on the curb as long as it's permissible to.
Priority Waste will collect the same things that you're putting out now, so we'll honor the contract from end to end.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Any other questions for Sam?
And the times aren't changing, right? When you do pickups?
Pickup
Not
days.
changing the days or the times?
Days are staying the same. Times may fluctuate just a little bit, hopefully for the better.
Okay.
But so some of the routing we're putting together now with Priority Waste, but it shouldn't change much, but the days will stay the same.
Just as long as the residents know, because that's one of the issues we've had.
Okay.
Thank you.
How many weeks do you expect it will take to reach normal equilibrium for pickups?
Well, I would imagine you're probably looking at a couple, 3 weeks to get ready. We're hiring the same people from GFL Environmental and others to staff these locations. As Kurt mentioned, we're taking over 73 residential contracts, so many of the GFL people are coming over. I would say about 3 weeks to staff it properly.
So by August 1, you expect to be to normal?
Yes.
Next question is, what is the motivation of GFL to sell? Is it low profitability? Is it redirection of the business?
Redirection of the business. Typically, some of your big haulers, Waste Management, Republic Services, and now GFL have backed away from the residential collection. There typically is not enough margin on the residential lines of business to be attractive to these companies. And again,
So it is profitability
well,
also.
you have 3 of them that have backed away from it. 3 of the largest haulers in the country.
I got a question either for you or Sarah. So right now we have residential household hazardous waste drop-off weeks, and we drop them off at ERG in Livonia. Is that going to continue? That's going to continue, correct?
I believe you want it, yes.
Yeah, okay. We also have commercial contracts with GFL, so those commercial contracts include this building, fire stations, park, golf course, et cetera. I believe those are almost on a year-to-year or 2-year basis. So those contracts will come up for renegotiation probably in the next year or so.
I thought this letter said that that would remain with GFL, only the residential pickup.
Yeah, no, wait, it does remain with GFL. So we're going to.
Not interested in that right now.
Well, I don't know what he's
He
interested
might,
in,
but
but
I mean,
I'm just saying that.
He has no responsibility for it yet.
Well, he's well aware of it because we have a contract with GFL. We want to make sure that that contract stays in place with GFL, and if Priority offers something better down the road, then we'll consider that too.
Yeah, GFL is keeping the commercial work that you have in the township at this time.
Okay. Any other questions for
We
Sam?
buy the trash bins? I know we had an option to lease them. Do we own the trash bins?
The dumpsters,
No, the
recycling
bins.
the recycle bins, they are GFL's property, but they are moving over to Priority Waste, is what I was told.
Okay.
So they're assuming that.
So there's no change. So you guys will pick up the recycling and the residential trash, but not the yard waste, correct?
Everything will stay the same in the way of collection. Your recycling will stay the same. Trash and yard waste will also be collected by Priority Waste.
Same routes, same days, no change to
No change.
routes? Okay.
Well, you just brought up a good point. Let's be absolutely sure that the transfer of the bins is done properly, so we don't have a problem with who owns them in 6 months. There's no question, legal question, or anything like that. So now's the time to handle it.
Okay.
I don't know if you have anything in writing that says they're moving over?
The current contract says that GFL provides recycling bins. Residents are to provide their own trash receptacles, and that will not change under this assignment.
All right, I just want to make sure the ownership transfers.
Okay.
So they don't, if somebody comes up with something and says, oh, they didn't transfer, then we're going to have to negotiate to figure out how to solve the problem.
Yeah, they're not our property. They
Yeah.
are GFL's property.
And it's being transferred.
In turn, they're going to become Priority Waste.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Supervisor.
No, Mr. Stewart had a question.
Real quick, sir, welcome to Plymouth Township.
Thank you.
I have sat in Sarah Wiesel's office for the better part of an hour. She's a neighbor of mine, Lake Point, but she had 3 different phones going. Sarah Wiesel is known for oversight and accountability. Once a week, more than once a week, I get a phone call or somebody knocking on my door saying, when's my compost going to be picked up? When's my trash going to be picked up? When's my recycle going to be picked up? When can I get a new recycle bin? The lid has been ripped off. So I want to thank you, but I want to welcome you, but I want to tell you, the people are tenacious, and we appreciate efficient service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I talked to Sarah often. We're going to strive to get you back to what you're accustomed to in the way of good service.
Okay,
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk?
I move to approve resolution number 2024-06-25-36 to permit GFL Environmental USA, Inc. to assign its interests, responsibilities, obligations under the current agreement to Priority Waste LLC, in accordance with the conditions set forth therein.
Motion is made by Clerk Vorba, seconded by Trustee Kermy. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Clerk Vorba, yes. Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night, Sam.
Thank you.
All right, next up is item F2. This is St. John's Town's Planned Unit Development. We have representatives here from Pulte Homes, and we have Laura Haw, our planner, and Kevin Bennett, our township attorney. So I will ask that Laura start us off with the discussion.
Okay, good evening, trustees. This application is a PUD, a planned unit development. It's strictly residential. It consists of 8 acres that is being split off from the Inn at St. John's golf course property, and will consist of 72 townhomes. The applicant has been before this body previously when they received their PUD option, which is the eligibility portion. This was the finalization of their site plan and PUD contract. They did appear most recently before the Planning Commission on April 17th, where the Planning Commission reviewed their latest plans and recommended unanimously to this body for approval. So they're here tonight as the last step before closing out their application and moving on to building permits. And they are here this evening if you have specific questions. Thank you.
This has been to the Planning Commission, obviously.
Multiple times,
Okay.
at least 3.
Sarah, what date did the township board approve the option, not the final, not the PUD, but the PUD option?
I'd have to look that up. I don't know it offhand.
It was a couple of years ago, correct?
It's required to be within like a certain time frame, so I don't think a couple of years ago. The applicant might
had
have.
several
Maybe the applicant knows.
May 8th of 2023.
That was the initial one.
For this, right.
All right, so Laura, do you have anything else?
If there's a resolution, if it's found acceptable. Let's move
Okay,
forward.
Kevin, do you have anything else on this item? You do not. So we have folks here from Pulte Homes. Why don't you come up and just kind of give us an update on, again, what you plan on building and anything else? I understand that there is going to be a $100,000 donation to our sidewalk fund. That is part of the PUD, I understand as well.
That's correct. Joe Score, Pulte Homes, Michigan. Yeah, as we mentioned, this plan was in front of this board just over a year ago. We've been to Planning Commission several times. For all intents and purposes, the plan really hasn't changed. Anything that we've done over that last 365 days has been changes in accordance with comments we received from your staff, outside consultants. We think that they're all positive changes and benefits to the plan. And as Mr. Supervisor, as you mentioned, one of the changes was we are contributing $100,000 to the Sidewalk and Bicycle Fund. And so, again, it's primarily the exact plan and proposal that you've seen. And I'm happy to answer any other questions about the plan that you may have.
That $100,000 is in lieu of putting sidewalks.
Well, we are putting in a pathway / sidewalk on our frontage, which is approximately 1,000 feet on Sheldon Road, but it is in lieu of any other off-site improvements to the pathway network. That's correct.
So it does not go north or south beyond your property boundaries?
It does not go north or south. However, we are doing a crosswalk and a new signal on Helm or across Helms Road, at Helms across Sheldon to connect into the pedestrian pathway network on the other side of Sheldon.
What was the reason you didn't extend the sidewalk up Sheldon?
Well, we've had many different discussions. We've looked at this in depth, just in terms of the challenges associated with the Sheldon Road offsite improvement. You are looking at some very significant topography. You're looking at, you have guardrail. We also have, there's wooded wetlands in the corner at the corner of Sheldon and 5 Mile. We would most likely need not only temporary grading easements, but permanent easements from the Pulte Family Foundation, which they are not inclined to grant. So I think there's lots of challenges and associated with that particular sidewalk. And we estimated the cost to be somewhat, really just not feasible relative to the development that we're proposing.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the board?
Is the entrance, I'm looking at the drawing we have here, is the entrance going to be at Helm Street or is it going to be further south?
So we have two entrances.
Okay.
And one is at Helm Street.
Yeah. At one time, there used to be a road that went through there when the golf course was set up differently. I remember going there myself. So that'll be there at Helm Street and then just further south, about 400 or 500 feet.
Sounds about right, but
Yes.
I'd have to probably defer my engineer on exact dimension.
So we essentially have a sidewalk that covers your property, but doesn't really, it leads to the crosswalk to get you to the west side of Sheldon, and then you can access the strip mall that has bushes in it.
That's
So in
correct.
order to get to the CVS safely, you would have to cross, you'd have to go south, cross at Helm, and then come back north and cross back over to get to CVS, which is on the northeast corner of Sheldon and 5 Mile.
I don't know that you're going south at Helm. The development's at Helm, so you'd go directly.
Some of the people.
Some of the people.
Where, okay.
Some of the people, that's correct.
How far is the northernmost unit from Helm?
The northernmost unit from Helm.
1,000 feet?
No, not even that far.
Pardon? About 200 feet. 200? All right.
North is south.
North.
Yeah, it's turned.
So it's
turned
upside
around a little
down.
bit. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it'd be north.
North is facing.
Yeah.
Correct. There you go.
Are we replacing trees that are taken down?
We are replacing trees. We have a robust landscape plan. We're doing supplemental plantings, and in fact, our tree replacement exceeds ordinance requirements.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about your demographics and marketing. What's your target pricing? Who's your target demographic? Are they 3.5 stories tall? Or are they 3?
I'll lead with that. They're 3-story units. They're approximately 2,100 square feet. Typical three bedroom, 2.5 to 3 bath. In terms of target demographic, Trustee Kermey, we feel that there's many different buyer groups that it will probably be appeal to. Anybody that's looking for a no maintenance, low maintenance type of community. The exterior maintenance is taken care of by the HOA. So lawn, landscape, snow, the exterior of their building, the roof. So you could get some empty nesters, but granted there are stairs in these units, so I think it could appeal to empty nesters, young families, 1 and 2 person households. I think it's really kind of across the board.
So they will be sold or rented?
Oh no, these are for sale.
All right, so
100%.
there'll be a certain percentage that maybe speculators would rent.
There's always a little bit of that, just about in every community.
And what is the finished siding on there?
So you've got a mix of materials, brick, stone, and cement board siding.
All right.
Okay, any other questions from board members? Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion from somebody.
Mr. Supervisor.
Oh, you didn't say the price range.
I believe, and it's a little early, but I believe that.
You can make a range,
Sure, yeah. Base pricing will be somewhere in the mid-4s, and then delivered pricing based on options and upgrades by your preference, most likely in the mid to high 5s.
Okay, so we got a motion made by Clerk Forbes.
I'm not going to make the motion. I move to adopt Resolution 2024-6-25-37, authorizing the approval of the planned unit development contract for the St. John's Towns Residential PUD as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Motion's made by Clerk Forbes. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Monahan. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Clerk Vorba, yes. Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Kermey.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, back to public comment, limited to 3 minutes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck.
Thank you.
Returning to the podium, Howard Hamrick, 10306 Normandy Drive. This will be addressed to the board. It's been a constant issue. Port Sarah's had to get call after call for the trash and the receptacles and the items with GFL. I know they're a Canadian company. They bought out several entities. How are these contracts organized and analyzed for efficiency based on the previous record for these hauling companies? Now, I see we got a handoff to Priority here. I don't know much about them, but, I guess I'd be happy to sit on a commission to vet these candidates out because things are not being picked up in any organized manner. I don't know why you want 1,000 different trash receptacles floating around the township when you should come with more standardized and come up with a regular, reproducible pickup situation that most other cities like Novi have. I also don't understand why we have these extraneous hazardous waste pickup days and dates when other communities can go there, prove that they're a resident, drop off their hazardous materials. That saves us contaminating our trash pickup trucks and the receptacles that they're in and the landfills these go to. It seems it can't be that much more money, because I've gone to the recycle center in Livonia, but you gotta pay, and you've gotta show your license that you're a Plymouth Township resident. Now, unless that got changed recently, I haven't been there in the last couple of weeks, so I couldn't address that situation. But it seems to me a little bit better organization in managing trash and recyclables would be helpful, because otherwise things are blowing all over the streets out of trash containers that are really inappropriate, or they're overloaded, or the yard waste is sitting there for days on end. So I don't know whether you're going to talk a little bit more to Priority about addressing that, because it's unsightly, number one. Number two, it's a health hazard. Number three, it surely looks great when the realtors show all the properties and we got the junk laying out in front of the properties and it's not properly contained. I'm not sure a lot of the residents even know the rules of the road, so to speak, on what they put out there. So it'd be nice, a little communication, say, folks, let's be good neighbors. Let's keep our trash appropriately managed. Let's keep our trash out at the proper time, not sitting out there for 4 and 5 days prior to. A lot of folks don't know. We got a lot of new neighbors coming in and they're totally unaware of this. I know it's on the website. I know that's always the answer. Check the website. Thank you for your time. I'd like you to address that. I'll be back to see how we're doing at it with this new company shortly. Thank you.
But one question, you're proposing that we have a year-round be able to drop off at ERG on Merriman Road. Is that what you're saying?
That's what other communities do.
Hazardous waste, year-round.
Yeah. You gotta be here that day. It's like, get doctors are worse than doctors.
Okay. All righty, okay.
My name is Eileen Coleman. This is going to be a really brief comment, but you're using a very weak argument. You're using ad hominems against people. This is a fallacy. It occurs when instead of addressing someone's argument or position, you irrelevantly attack the person or some aspect of the person who is making the argument. So it's pretty weak. You're putting this in Facebook and all over. It'd probably be best if leaders in this township, Mr. Heisey, others included, that you keep to the issues. We have a lot of issues that need to be addressed, worked on, discussed, and you're deflecting. Don't deflect. Stay to the issues. Don't call names. It's inappropriate for leaders.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else at this time? Otherwise, we're going to switch over to board comments. If any board member wants to speak, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. Ms. Buckley.
Yeah. Just real quick, you guys may have heard in the news the tragic loss of Officer Brad Reckling from Oakland County Sheriff's Department, 30 years old, killed in the line of duty. This is very near and dear to my heart. He has a widow now with 3 little children, and she is pregnant with her 4th. If you could, take the time to look up their story, recognize it, and possibly make a donation. Thank you.
She was interviewed on the WJR this morning, live.
Really?
Yeah, I
Very tragic.
It's amazing that she has that
Okay.
level of courage.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, any other board members? Nothing?
Tax bills are,
Yep.
will be in the mailboxes, either Friday or Saturday. You should see them Monday at the latest. So, you know, everybody loves the treasurer at tax collection time. The second thing is we got the actuary report on MERS. We just got it today, and so on our pension remains at 71% funded so 22 it was 71%, and 23 it was also 71%. So that's, you know, investments returned, but the you know, the liabilities went up, so it was kind of a wash this year.
So the payoff date still remains as 2027?
Well,
The final,
Probably.
That was the target.
That was a target. And
It's a target.
well, the stock market has been pretty good, but
They
you say
did,
it's 2 years look
MERS
back.
did lower their, I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I just got it at like 3 o'clock this afternoon, so I flipped through it quickly. MERS lowered the target expected return. It was 7%, and they lowered it to like 6.75, so that's going to have some impact.
Okay.
Mr.
Clerk.
Yes, ballots are going in the mail on Thursday. We've received about approximately 7,000 applications. They will be mailed out. So as soon as the post office can handle them and get them back to you, probably, I'm guessing, maybe Monday or Tuesday. So you can expect those in the mail.
Okay. Anybody else? Nope. Yeah, go ahead, Chuck.
The next meeting, are we really having it on July 9th, which kind of cuts the vacation in half? Because that's Tuesday, correct?
Vacation.
4th of July, well, 4th of July vacation begins on July 4th. So,
Yeah, so
we
that's-
are going to have it.
Yeah, that's 5 days later, so, I mean, it's July 9th, so. Anyway, at the July 9th meeting, it's still kind of early to determine what's going to be on that agenda. 4th of July, though, is coming up next week, believe it or not, and we will be marching in the 4th of July parade with our colleagues from the city of Plymouth. I've also invited Commissioners, Wayne County Commissioners Marecki and Melissa Daub, yes, thank you, to participate as well. So it's a long-standing tradition now for us, and certainly I invite you to participate with your families. Families are certainly invited, and we're now we're number 12 in the parade. We usually were like number 89, you know, but we're much further up to the front now, so that's nice. And
Where's the meeting place at?
I sent you guys an email earlier today, so it's there's a map that they put together. It's pretty much the same location.
It's on
that we've
Theodore
always been.
Street.
Yeah, where we've usually been. All right.
Next to the railroad.
We're all set then? Need a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Mr. Clerk moves to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Monahan. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.